Hello, teachers, parents, and educational leaders, and welcome to this episode of Breaking Down the B.E.S.T. Now, during this episode, you will get a peek into the members-only area where I have tons of resources to help you make math fun, make it click, and make it stick. There should be a link somewhere around this video where you can learn more. All right, now that we got that out of the way, let's get to it, and let's break down the standard. Welcome to Breaking Down the B.E.S.T, a video series dedicated to breaking down Florida's B.E.S.T standards for math. So grab something to write with and maybe even a snack. This looks good. And don't forget to put a smile on your face. There you go. I see you. And let's dive into today's B.E.S.T standard. Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Sarah McCarthy, the creator of McCarthy Math Academy. And I just want to thank you for joining me here today. Look, I know you're super busy. I know that you've got a lot going on with your to-do list, but you're here, and I'm stoked that you're here. So let's go ahead and jump into today's standard, which is MA.4.NSO.1.2. MA stands for math, 4 stands for 4th grade, NSO stands for number sense operations, and 1.2 is our benchmark today. Because we're in the 1 right up here, this is a lot of place value that's happening. By the way, this document that I'm using is available to the public. This is a document provided by the Florida Department of Education, and all that I'm doing in this video is showing you how I pick apart these standards in order to create content and resources that is specifically aligned to the standards. So I figured, why not open it up and we can learn from each other. So that's cool. So this standard says to read and write multi-digit whole numbers from 0 all the way to 1 million using standard form, expanded form, and word form. So 3 different forms. This standard is magnificently huge. There is so much going on in this standard. I love that with these new B.E.S.T standards, we do have more opportunities for students to practice with place value. It's just a lot. This is a heavy, heavy standard, and I want us to be careful I'm all about high expectations, but if we want our students to master it, we have to be careful about how much we're throwing at them at one time. It needs to kind of be broken down where they can start to make sense of all the things. I know a lot of times the place value standards, they move super quickly. I really encourage you to take time here as you can. I know that you have to stay within certain confines and everything like that, but take time to circle back and make sure students get lots of opportunities with these. This is a great standard actually for number talks, and just kind of have that idea in mind. And a number talk is, like, for instance, I feel like I'm jumping way into some of the stuff here, but that's okay. Let's say that you have the number, because we're going all the way up to 1 million, let's say 213,045, okay? If you were to place this on your board after you've taught all the different ways to do it, you could say, okay, students, how many different ways can we represent this number? And this could be a way that you open lessons after you've already taught it, to keep circling back to this, to keep getting in that place value standard. They could write it in standard form, which is already written in standard form. I'm sorry. There's 2 opportunities for expanded form, word form, and also we're decomposing numbers in this standard. So just something to think about. Don't make this a one-time expose and done standard. Keep on coming back to it. And a great way to do that is with number talks. Okay, so standard form, like we said, could be written like this: 275,802, which then we could write in word form like this: 275,802. That would be the word form. And I always say to students, if we can read these numbers, we can write it. And the thing is, a lot of times, let's go back to this example up here. My experience with 4th graders are they see a big, huge number like that. It looks big, it looks hairy, it looks scary to them. So taking time to just practice reading the number, talking about the different places that when you're at the hundreds place, you're saying the name of it. okay? All this stuff I actually break down in the video lessons that you have access to. And then we slide the rest of the way. So make sure you watch those videos, okay? Because these do look big for them. I'm going to keep on moving on, but just if you get nothing else away from this video, just take the time with this. Even if you're under pressure to move on, find ways to keep coming back so they can feel like they've got it, okay? Or know that they've got it, really. So we talked about standard form, word form. There are two forms of expanded form that I was seeing on here. We've got 200,000 like this, where we're taking the values and adding them together, or where we're taking the digit and we're multiplying it by the place value that it's in, the value of the place that it's in. If you're looking at any of this and you're like, I am not even sure how to teach that, that's okay, because I'm about to show you the videos that you have access to with your membership. So you'll be all right. They're there for you as well. More than all right. You're going to be awesome. We're in this together. Okay, I wrote here that there is no mention of decomposing numbers here, but it is included. Expanded form is, when you see expanded form, like the two ways that they give you there in the example, those are ways to decompose numbers, but you'll see another way here where it's more like a numeral word decomposition. I'll show you in a minute. The related benchmark that they're stating here on this document is multiplication and division using estimation. Okay, I guess. I mean, you'll apply what you've learned to that standard for sure. Remember that whole numbers are numbers that are whole numbers and also start with 0. So no fractions, no decimals. Where are they coming from in 3rd grade? Well, they had a similar standard in 3rd grade. However, as I'm recording this is the first year for the new B.E.S.T standards in Florida, and so they might not be coming up with this knowledge. So be just aware of that. If you're watching this after that year, hopefully they've been taught this standard of MA.4.NSO.1.2, which is the same standard reading and writing, but we're going from 0 to 10,000. It's 0 to 10,000, which means that most of our values are going to be thousands and below, where they're coming up from. And also in 3rd grade, we had a separate standard for composing and decomposing numbers. So it's heavy in 4th grade because they're putting it with the reading and writing. And then in 5th grade, where are they going? They will be reading and writing numbers with decimals to the thousandths, very similarly to how we're doing it in 4th grade, just we'll have decimals. So this is important that they get it now, because if they nail it this year, when they get to 5th grade, the only new thing will be that they're using it with a different place value. They can apply these same patterns to the decimal numbers to the thousandths. Okay, so you can see I drew a little arrow talking about decomposing numbers down to here. Because when I was reading it, I was like, oh, it says here, the purpose of this benchmark is for students to read appropriately and write numbers in all forms and have flexibility with different forms. Again, this is awesome for number talks. That's how I would do it. This what else did I want to say? Okay, so here, it wasn't until we got down here that I was like, oh, and this is why I'm glad that the Florida Department of Education provides this resource to really break down these standards, because we wouldn't have known that decomposing numbers was even a thing unless you scrolled down and you saw what they were intending with this standard, what the intent of this standard is. Okay, so it says decomposing numbers, for instance here, students should have opportunities to explore the idea that 285, which this is kind of more of a 3rd grade example, that 285 could be 25 tens plus 5 ones, okay? Or 100 plus 18 tens plus 5 ones. And you might be thinking 100, but I see 200s there. Well, there's regrouping that goes on, taking 100 and replacing it with 10 tens, because 100 equals 10 tens. So now we're going from 100 to 18 tens and 5 ones. That could be a way to represent the number. If you were to compose those values, 100 plus 18 tens plus 5 ones, you would see that it would equal 285. Now, I think the awesome thing with 3rd grade is that they do break this into 2 separate standards. And so with your membership, if you have access to The other grade levels, if you're a fourth grade teacher and you have access to the third grade, you might need some of those third grade lessons just to get them ready for the fourth grade content. Okay, I'll show you that when we enter in. So I mentioned here separate standard for third, but combined for fourth. The decomposing numbers is separate for third grade, but we put it all together for fourth grade. Here says a number like 3004 can cause problems for students because they might write it like this, 3004, where they're squishing 3000 and 4 together instead of adding them up to make it 3004. Again, this is more of a third grade example because the numbers do get larger in fourth grade. We're going all the way up the millions, right? Okay, so then here in the instructional task, again, I love that these are included because it kind of helps to say, okay, oh, now I see what it is that my students are going to be expected to do or expected to know. So you can see here we've got a bunch of different word forms. And then here, this would be an example of decomposing numbers. So it's similar to expanded form, but like 2,340 could be 234 tens. It is also 2,340 ones. So really taking the time to talk about what those values mean, which we do in Taking on the B.E.S.T. Speaking of taking on the B.E.S.T, let's get to the resources that you have access to, okay? Let's talk about what it is. All right, so here we go. We're going to go to Members, enter here. You can also use the tab up there. We are, of course, going to Taking on the B.E.S.T because we are in Florida, B.E.S.T standards, fourth grade. Which strand do we want? NSO. And we're on 1.2, reading and writing numbers. All right, so if you have the bronze membership, you have access to the video lessons and the printable resources. So you can see here, this is a reading and writing numbers episode. And again, hopefully, because we're jumping right into reading these numbers, there is a video in 1.1 that I'll just show you. Let me just show you back to 1.1. This foundational skills place value video, you might need to go over this one first before you enter into that 1.2. I'll also show you the third grade too. Okay, so with fourth grade, you have the reading and writing numbers episode. You have the printable guide that goes with it. You can see in this video lesson, they're given one of the forms and then they have to rewrite the other form. So here's the word form. There's two types of expanded form. This is one of the types. So in the second example, there's the expanded form given, and they have to give the standard form, the word form, and the expanded form. And we walk through that whole process in the video. So if this is your first time ever seeing this, watch the video so you know how to break it down. Then decomposing numbers number 1 and decomposing numbers number 2. So here's what I did. The first video practices decomposing numbers without regrouping. So for instance, saying maybe it's 21 10,000s plus 34 hundreds plus 6 ones. Okay, I'm not sure the exact way that I chose to decompose these numbers for this one, but that's what this one is. Where the other one, decomposing numbers number 2, practices regrouping. So in this one, so you can see, decompose this number 3 different ways by regrouping at least one digit. So maybe we took a 100,000 and regrouped it over into the 10,000s place and then explained how we decompose those. If this sounds like gibberish right now and you're like, huh? Imagine what it's going to sound like for your students. So I do encourage you, if this is your first time seeing decomposing numbers, watch it so you can feel confident with it and ready to jump in with your students as well. That's why I do what I do. I love helping you. So next we have the silver plan. So if you have the silver plan, you have access to even more resources and we'll go over them. You can go back to those bronze videos at any time. All right, here's your printables. So you can see we have that same, if it has the video icon right there, that's a video lesson. And then you have extra practice. So in this first extra practice, we're just going from standard form to word form. So they've watched the video. Now let's practice just reading and writing the numbers with the 2 forms. And then how about reading and writing numbers going from standard form to the 2 expanded forms? So it's breaking it down in a way that's not super duper overwhelming. And then putting it all together. Standard form, word form, and the 2 different versions of expanded form. Another example, then the first video lesson for decomposing numbers the first way without regrouping. And then you'll see with that, these types of examples afterwards. So I would definitely encourage students to walk through each one of these and show what the end value would be, and does it get back to the number that's given in the question. That's how I would teach. This is a select all, so there might be more than one way to decompose the numbers. And there's an answer key that goes with this too. And then with decomposing numbers number 2 video lesson, like we mentioned before, this is where we regroup at least 1 digit, and then extra practice that goes with that. So if you have the silver, you can take a look at this. It seems really wordy because it goes quickly from the video lessons into this. And they definitely need experience and practice with these types of situations. And then I love including the math missions because this is a way to take the entire standard and put it all together. So you can see for this math mission, they have a number, they have to write it in it, they have to express it, sorry, which just means to write it in word form and expanded form. And notice it doesn't limit them to which type of expanded form. They can just select which one they want to write for that one. Here, express the number using only thousands and ones. This is the way to decompose the number. And then here, where they have to plug in how it would correctly decompose the number, another way to do it. And then for the math misconception mystery episode, oh man, threw them right into it right away. So it says, which of the following does not represent a way to write 406,046? First of all, that not is going to throw students off, and then we've got these different answer choices. So again, I know you probably heard this before, but math misconception mystery, the goal is that your students will solve the problem on their own, and then they watch the video lesson. I'll show you where that is in just a second. And that video lesson includes me as the host, as long as me playing 4 characters. 3 of those characters will solve this problem incorrectly, making mistakes that students commonly make. One character will have the most reasonable answer, and your students will have to play the math detective, file these detective reports where they discuss, they decide, they analyze, they justify all the ways. It's a lot of good fun. So definitely check that out. All right, this is where the episode is for the math misconception mystery episode. And then you have your gold resources if you have the gold plan. All right, so these are your gold resources. You've got a mini assessment that you can use however you see fit. Just kind of quickly show you what it looks like. I know that you probably have assessments that you through your county, but these are just extra practice for you. There's an answer key. The breaking down the best video, that's what you're using here. So there should be a video there by the time you're watching this. And the McCarthy Math 155, this was the previous program with the Common Core standards. With the gold package, you have access to all of these video lessons. However, just keep in mind, they were geared for the Common Core standards. The whole point of me changing the program, not changing, but creating a new program with Taking on the Best was because these videos were not going to cut it completely. I do believe 4th grade did have, so we do have reading and writing and comparing numbers in this place value standard right here. If you need some extra practice, you've used everything and Taking on the Best and your students need some more practice, you can do that. Okay. Again, video lessons, printables right there with the gold package, okay? So you can take a look at that if you've got it. Lots and lots of practice there. All right, I think that's good. Oh, you know what? I was going to show you so if you have access to all 3 grade levels, because you can choose to have access to all 3 or just the one that you need. If you do have access to all 3 though, I want to show you in 3rd grade how you can use, especially as a 4th grade teacher, because you can use the 3rd grade version to align to that vertical alignment up. So right here, we've got reading and writing numbers for 3rd grade. You actually have access to that because the standard is open for everybody. But you can see we're doing the same kind of thing, standard form, word form, expanded form, but on a smaller level because we only go to the 10,000s place and really just staying in the thousands or less. Okay, you can see how that would build into what you need for 4th grade. Sorry, there's a really loud vehicle. I'm gonna wait. And then you can see here, 3.NSO.1.2, composing and decomposing numbers. This is the 3rd grade level. But this breaks down what they should be coming up with to you in 4th grade. But again, as of filming this is the first year where we're entering into the B.E.S.T standards. So you might need some of these resources to gently nudge your students up to the level that they need to be in. In other words, equipping them with the knowledge that they're supposed to be coming up with. But we have to be real in saying we were teaching the Common Core standards last year. So take a look at that if you have access to all 3 grade levels. Okay, so I hope that was helpful for you as we broke down the standard and you got to see what you have access to with your membership. And now before we go, I want to remind you that what you do with your life, it really matters. We need that reminder sometimes because sometimes we're in our own bubble. There's so much going on that we forget that we are in a profession, that what we do has the potential to tremendously shift the trajectory of our students' lives. We may never know how our time with our students will truly impact them, but we have to believe that what we are pouring into them every day, not only math, but helping them to become the best versions of themselves, that as they continue on, they'll remember who they were born to be and gradually learn and grow. So thank you for all that you do. I will see you next time, everybody. Bye-bye. Okay, so I know that I just said goodbye for now, but I'm gonna ask you to do one more thing, okay? If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with your teacher friends or other leaders in education. That's how I get to continue doing what I love to do, which of course is supporting you all to the best of my ability. All right, for real now. Bye.